Because there's like a delay.
I'll just ask them if they can hear us.
Yeah.
We'll just wait for comments. Hey guys, can you hear us?
If you can just like comment. If you can
just comment, yeah, if you can hear us.
It starts right now, in about 30 seconds.
Well, you're fine.
Try now.
Can't do this.
Is
Is your Wi-Fi off?
the Wi-Fi gone?
No, I don't think it's gone.
Your Wi-Fi is gone.
Yeah. Do you have like an Ethernet cable?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, just use.
Oh no, but I don't have.
No, you can do.
Yes, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh. Alright.
Bro, the Wi-Fi keeps cutting
Should be okay. Cool.
Alright. Welcome guys. Welcome to the semester deadlines. This is where we'll just tell you about your courses in the first year, especially the first semester, and then we'll go into detail about everything from scheduling your exams and from how to study, what type of material you have in the courses, and then of course textbooks and that stuff as well. So first of all, I just want to say that if you guys have any questions, please just make a comment as soon as you have them, and hopefully we'll see it and we'll try to answer. Instead of leaving it to the end, that will make it harder for you guys to remember what you were asking and things like that. So, and Rahul also has a word for you guys about our sponsor.
Yeah, so big thank you to our sponsors, Foreigners, for giving us the funds to support the events, virtual and the scavenger hunt, and they gave us the possibilities to make this also.
Okay.
So, a big thank you.
So we can just continue with the first slide. Alright, so just some quick terminology for you guys. There's different types of classes that you're going to have both this semester and the next. So the first one is a seminar, and that is where you're in your groups of maybe 12 to 15, and it requires active participation. And you'll be given some sort of an assignment during the class by the teachers that you will complete together and alongside the teacher as well. And then there's also a practice, and this is a practical lesson, where you will actually do something physical with your hands. Then there's a lecture. This is the only non-mandatory class, and of course this is just a teacher presenting on the board using a PowerPoint. These are non-mandatory, so you don't have to go. But we'll tell you that there are some lectures that you should go to, just as recommendations from us that you'll find useful. And then there's going to be others that we'll recommend you not to go to because they might be a waste of time. And then you have a partial test that is just during the semester. So you'll have several in each of the different courses. We'll tell you which ones. And then there's a credit test that is at the end of the semester. So usually it's at the end of every semester that you have, and sometimes that is the only thing that you have. So when you pass that credit test, you just get the credit for that course. So for example, this semester there would be a biophysics credit test, and you would just get a credit for the biophysics practical. But next semester you have a final exam.
Yeah.
Also a credit test?
Yeah.
You may have a credit test first and then a final exam.
For biophysics.
Yeah. And then of course the last one is the final, and that is usually at the end of this semester. The only final you have technically is biophysics. At the end of next semester you would have finals in Czech, Latin, and anatomy. But we'll get to that later on. All right, next slide. Okay, so the exams you have, anatomy this semester specifically, are the anatomy dissection, which is a practical exam, the biology credit test and partial test. So in biology, we'll talk about the types of tests that you have, but you have both a credit and a partial this semester. In Latin, you have both a credit and a couple partials, same with Czech. And in public health, you have a credit that's most likely not going to be at the end of the semester. It's earlier on.
We'd recommend you to do it on the earlier day.
Yeah, when we actually get to public health, Rahul will actually tell you exactly how you should do it. And then, like I said, biophysics, you have a credit test this semester, but biophysics is only a one semester course, so you will also have the final exam this semester. And then we can talk about prerequisites.
And also, when he means by the biophysics credit, it's a written test, but like a lot of people ask, there's also a written final test as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like two
So
separate
there is
groups.
a credit test in the biophysics. So you have two courses in biophysics. You have a biophysics lecture and a biophysics practical. The practical has a credit test, and the lecture has a credit test, immediately followed by the final exam, the oral. Yeah, so we'll talk about prerequisites when we get to the actual courses, but there are a couple, mainly biology and Czech, that if you fail to pass both these courses, you would not be able to move to certain courses in the next semester, mainly physiology and Czech too.
Also, if you have any questions, please answer while we're making this. It'll be a lot easier than
Yeah.
answering at the very end.
Is there a question?
Any
Yeah.
questions?
Yuri says, I just read on interactive syllabus that there's also an oral test in biology at the end of the second semester.
So it says oral, but I believe it's still a written.
It's still a computer test.
So it will be a written test, which will be negative mark. Biology don't have a
Only oral, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So-
not that what we've heard of.
Yeah, most of your courses in the entire 6 years of your study here will have an oral component.
Yeah.
Bio is one of the ones that doesn't. We're pretty sure about that.
Yeah.
If it changes, we'll let you guys know. But
Yeah, so, but they're asked, what is the grading system, or is it just pass or fail?
There is a grading system for the exams with an oral exam.
yes.
Well, for example.
So like your major exams is graded from A to E.
Well, 1 to 4, right?
What do you
Like
mean?
the number one.
Yes, that's your grade point
Grade
average.
average,
Yeah.
yeah.
So to get an E in the exam, you need to get at least 70%, 75% overall, which is a high percentage. So you might know from other universities, especially if you're from the UK, the pass rate is only 40%. But here, the pass mark is a lot higher. And you need to do quite a lot more than just to pass the exam. And I would say mainly like your first year, don't worry too much about grades. Just worry about getting that E. Like most of us would be happy with just getting that E and passing through.
Yeah.
Because as you'll come to know, like passing exams are really difficult.
So Marwa is asking, is this slide specifically for first semester?
This is first.
Yeah,
first
this one
semester.
specifically,
Yeah.
exactly.
So you'll have another semester going on next semester, which will talk about all the other upcoming finals.
We'll just go through the second semester partially as well today. But next semester when you actually have the stuff, we'll go through in detail.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll talk about each final exam as the slide comes on.
Yeah,
So we'll talk about each subject individually. This is just like a brief overview.
Yeah.
So Ahmed wants to know if he has overlapping courses in his timetable, what to do about that.
What do you mean by overlapping courses? You should.
The thing is, all your courses were enrolled and scheduled by the international office, so that shouldn't be a problem. But if it is, you should contact them directly.
Yeah, so contact the study office by email. Just
Because
tell them
that's
you've got an
definitely their
issue.
fault.
Yeah,
It's not
or,
yours.
or the only way you can get an overlapping is if you switch seminar groups. You're yourself.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
That's
And
the-
that it'll give you a warning
Yeah, it'll give you
when
one.
you do that. So you shouldn't do that. Like you won't be able to actually register or enroll into that course if you have a clash. It'll like say specifically when you're trying.
Okay. Yuri's asking, if I do well on the partials, do I have to do the oral test or written test, or is it compulsory no matter what?
Yeah, it's compulsory.
It
that
depends on which
there's-
subject you're talking
It
about.
depends on the subject.
So,
We'll get to
so
that.
there is one exception this year, which is a brand new
Yeah.
exception, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
But for every
Every
other subject, you have to do the written part and the oral.
Yeah, because the partial test is generally the department making you study for the final. Generally, except for.
Yeah. Is there another question?
Yes. So Rawan is asking, do we need to pass biophysics to enroll for other subjects in second semester?
It depends on the prerequisites that biophysics has.
So biophysics doesn't have.
Except for second year, not for
Yeah.
second semester,
Exactly.
but second year.
So the thing is, so for biophysics, if you do fail biophysics this semester, so you have biophysics at the end of the semester, usually in January time when you book it. If you don't pass that exam, you can then do it in the summer. But we really want you to pass it in January
Yeah,
because you have anatomy final in the summer, which is like probably going to be one of the hardest exams.
Yeah.
And to have biophysics with that is just going to be really stressful. So it's better that you get biophysics out of the way as soon as possible, and you can focus on the order. Otherwise, it's just going to be like a snowball effect. You just have exams piling up.
No.
And it's not good.
When we get to biophysics specifically,
Yeah.
we'll actually each of us tell you our personal experiences and advice on how
Exactly.
you should do it. Yeah, it's very important.
Okay, the biophysics final exam is an oral exam.
Yeah.
It has a written and oral component.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we will talk about that.
We'll talk about how the whole exam like works and
Structure.
everything.
On every single subject that you have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So don't
But to answer the question, yeah, it is.
Okay, I can just start with check. So from what we know, the examination system it consists of 5 progress tests. So these are partial tests. There's 4 written and 1 oral. That is the most updated information that we have. Because of the pandemic, there might be like changes. So you will get an email from your department head telling you about these changes. But for now, we were pretty sure that it is 4 written and 1 oral. Like we said, the pass mark is 70% for these partial tests, and each of the partial tests that you pass decreases your pass mark for the final credit test of the semester by 2%. So, for example, if you pass all 5 tests, your pass mark in your credit test at the end of the semester, let's say in January, is going to be 60% instead of 70. So, quite obviously, that is a huge advantage. Czech is actually a very difficult course for everyone, and some may say that it actually might be one of the most difficult courses at this uni. The main reason is because it is a language. Some people just aren't good at languages, so that's one of the things. But also, studying a language while you're doing an entire medical course is kind of annoying. You guys might like you will totally agree.
and Czech is a really difficult language.
It's an extremely difficult language.
You'll find out like a lot of us we can't really speak. You'd think that we've done like 5 years or 4 years of uni. We know Czech. Yeah. I think main advice for Czech is just stay on it. Just like study for each partial test as it comes. Because if you leave everything to the final test, so the thing is, so you don't have to pass every partial test. Nothing happens if you don't. But if you do pass all of them, the final credit that you have at the end of the semester will be a lot easier because of the decrease in the pass mark. And also, if you study for all the partial tests, then the final will be really easy because it will just be a whole mixture of all the questions that you've had in the partial test.
Exactly. So like what I was gonna say about Czech is that you really shouldn't just let it slide. Obviously, you don't want to give it priority because your medical course is priority.
Specifically biophysics.
Yeah. But the important thing is that if you keep up with Czech every week, just give it a couple hours every week. Try to keep up with it, and make sure you study well enough for the credit test. Sorry, the partial tests, and you pass them. That way, you'll know that you're doing well in the course, and you will be happy with your chances of passing first time the credit test at the final of the semester. Is there a question?
Yes, there's 2 questions. Firstly, Salima is asking, are you going to get past papers or practice questions for each subject?
So everything apart from Czech, I would say.
Yeah.
Because Czech is a language, so you can't have past papers.
Yeah, and past papers, quote unquote, you should get from your mentors.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. As Mims, we can't really give you past papers though.
So, okay, second question. Does all this information apply to dentistry students?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
For Czech, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there will be some subjects where, like, for example, anatomy is different. I'm not sure, I think biophysics is the same.
I'm sure that the DentSoc will also do.
Yeah, so if you do have any dentistry specific questions, if you just want to talk to like your DentSoc representative, just send them a message.
I'm sure the thing is all of Garima and Alan are the presidents of DentSoc. So that is the sort of MIMSA for the dentistry students. And they've told me that they have assigned each of the dentists in the first year to a mentor. So if you have any questions like that, this presentation will be uploaded on the study hub. So you guys can open it, download it, and send it to one of them and tell them and ask them what is different. Like if you have any questions specifically for dentistry, you can just ask them, and definitely they'll let you know.
And obviously the overlapping subjects, please feel free to ask us.
Yeah. Most of the subjects, at least in the first year, are very similar, if not exactly the same. Yeah.
I mean, one thing to add about Czech as well. I think the easiest way to study Czech is just to do flashcards. So basically, you have basically vocab to learn every week, and then this also goes for Latin. But for all the language that you learn at this uni, flashcards is like the easiest way to study. So just like put your vocab into like any flashcard app. So you can either Quizlet or Cram, or you can actually make the flashcards yourself.
Yeah. Also, there's a grammatical portion, and the Czech study, like the department, make robots. Like
Yeah.
and a robot is
Those
basically
are really helpful.
yeah, it's basically like an electronic homework form that they'll talk about within the first lesson. But I very much tell you to just constantly just keep bashing at it, because arguably it's very easy to memorize like a couple words, but like the grammar, I think that's what makes check really hard.
Yeah, I think also don't like think that you can just skip the grammar part of the test, because like from personal experience, because like I didn't learn grammar properly, like the fundamentals until much later. Like the stuff that comes later on will just be a lot harder. So make sure that you know the grammar really well at the start, and then you won't have any problems.
Just another quick repetition of what these guys said. The department gives you handouts in both Czech and Latin. We'll talk about Latin as well. They give you handouts and the robots on the IS that you can access and study from. So when you practice them both in class and at home, those are probably the best types of studying that you can do, and they're going to be the best resource for you to pass the partial tests and the credit test. That's fine. Can we
Okay,
get
so,
questions?
Firstly, are all written exams multiple choice?
For Czech, no. So
For Czech, no,
For
yeah.
Czech, there will probably be a listening part at the very beginning, and then there'll be like a fill in the blank grammar part. There'll be like put words into blank boxes in the grammar part as well. So things like that. And the thing is, if you actually study from the handouts, they're going to give you formats that are going to be exactly the same as each partial test and each credit test. So that's why we're telling you that you should make sure that you study directly from those handouts, because they're going to look almost exactly the same as the
Plus, if my memory serves correct, I think biophysics had a mix of written and multiple choice questions.
in the credit test. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did it?
Yeah, because we had
Sometimes,
to do
like very barely.
Yeah, like one or two
yeah,
questions.
yeah.
But basically, every single other written test that you
Is
have
MCQ.
at this university will be a
Almost
written.
everyone. Yeah.
It'll be a multiple choice test. Sometimes they make it more tricky by saying that none of the answers are correct,
The worst.
which means that you can't really guess. You actually need to know the answer. And some tests will be negative marks. So, for example, the biology final.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the only one.
That's great. And the other thing I can say is that like we can actually tell you that there's going to be no questions in any of the written tests that are long form. It will be maximum just a couple words.
Yeah, exactly.
None of them will be longer than a few words.
Okay,
Right.
next question. You have anything?
No.
Next question. I think it was. Is it possible to get the credits of a course but fail the final exam?
Yeah, but that's where like
So we can talk about biophysics.
yeah, but that's where Ahmed was talking about. You have a lecture and the practical.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like the credit test is for the practical portion of biophysics, but the biophysics lecture will be the oral examination.
Yeah. So let's just I'll just repeat what you said.
Go.
Biophysics has a lecture portion and a practical portion. The practical is probably like 3 credits. The lecture portion is probably like four
for biophysics.
for the practical. Or
No lecture.
okay, the lecture is 4, right? So that means that 7 credits in total, right? So if you pass the credit tests in the practical lesson, you'll get those 3 credits. If you fail the lecture, for example, in January, you take it, but you fail it, you will miss those 4 credits. But of course, as Helena told you guys, you need 20 credits to pass a semester. So let's say you did fail it and you did move it, you would still get those 3 credits from that practical lesson. You will just have the lecture portion, which is the final exam, remaining for the next semester.
Okay. So, Ewan wants to know when they will receive the themes for each lecture to prepare for each lecture and or seminar.
So you mean the syllabus?
Syllabus.
Yeah. So at the beginning of every single class that you have next week, in the first week, you will get all the information that we told you.
And it will be in the IS. So basically, for every subject, you have a different folder which you just go into study materials, and you have all the information that you need. So like the course, all the documents that you need to study, the books that you need to read, everything like that.
Honestly, if you're keen, you might as well go in there right now, or like in the next few days, and check up where all this stuff is, and maybe you'll find it there already. So you'll be prepared when you actually go to class. They're gonna read it out, but you'll already have it read by yourself, so you'll be a lot more prepared, which is great for you.
And also, if you check out the MIMSA Study Hub, which is basically a Google Drive, so if you check it on our website, so mimsonline.com, I will try and link it somewhere. It's in our Instagram bio as well. If you click on Study Hub, it will be a Google Drive, all the documents that you need for your 6 years of medicine here. If you go into the first year and then check out the subject that you're studying, all like the documents and resources, the documents, the notes for the final, everything will be there. So just check that out as well if you want to like learn more about the subject.
Okay.
Anything else?
Plus, we got we got messages from like after you've done the sub. Obviously, it's for the future, but you can contact one of these two
Yeah,
if
exactly.
you want to add a document.
If you have any documents that you
And
want to
you wanna
send to
add,
us,
yeah,
or if you have any questions in general, you just want to just
ask.
ask us directly, then we'll be happy to help.
Okay. How many check classes will there be every week? One?
One check
Perfect.
class.
Okay.
And basically, you have check for 4 years only, so it's not through the whole 6 years. But obviously, if you have to repeat a year, then you'd have to.
No, but the kind of crux of check, you need to do your check all the 4 years to do your state exams.
Yeah.
So which is why we tell you to keep on time so you can just quickly do your states.
Yeah. So like check is one of those subjects where it's neglected the most
But
because
it's important at the end.
because obviously
You have a medical course.
exactly because obviously if you're studying medicine you don't want to like put more time into the medical courses.
But the thing is, it's really important that
Yeah.
you do pass it because let's say, for example, the four of us that are sitting here,
Okay.
luckily we are all done with Czech after 4 years. But quite a lot of people, they do neglect it or they have like other priorities. And then they fall behind 1 year, and it makes it really difficult to have to do it even in your 5th year.
Yeah.
So
it's just an extra stress that you don't want. You just
And the
want
thing is,
to just want to get rid of.
It's definitely not hard to keep track of it. You just have
need
to put in the effort.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. Where do you get the handouts for Czech?
They will be on IS, and the teachers will upload them every week.
Is check online? No, it's saying
First years of everything in person.
It's still under. I
Okay.
think
Yeah,
it's
so
still
your teacher
involved.
will hand it to you in class. Yeah.
Do we submit essays for any of the courses?
No essays.
I mean, there's the public health, the scare, but like.
No.
Basically, for all your subjects, the only thing you have to do is like study for the partial test, which will come like once a week, once every 2 weeks, etc. That's the only thing that you need to study for. You don't have to do any like extra like homework. Or you get check homework to do like so you have to do like one handout or something.
Yeah.
But apart from that, none of the other subjects have any like homework per se. You just have to study for the next test, basically.
Yeah.
Is there negative marking in any test?
Apart from the biology final, there shouldn't be any negative marking until later.
So we'll go to the next slide.
Yeah. So public health is kind of weird because you have it in the first year, you have it in the third year, and you have it in fifth year, and then you also have a state. In first year specifically, you're gonna have it's gonna be a mandatory lecture where you need 100% attendance, and basically it's just a lecture of like epidemiology and like just science of human life and how like a hospital works, for example. And basically, I'd say it's important to just show up because the like a huge paper and a whole PowerPoint presentation and all that stuff. But the most important part of this is Craft allows you to do the exam earlier. I think sometime in November, like a November time. And I'd say really push forward and try to get all your small exams done earlier. So that way, once you do your, you have more dedicated study time period for biophysics. And the way to study public health, you might just go to the next page. The best way to do it is like they have this book called The Bonita Bigger Hole, and it's just you just have to read the chapters he tells you to study, and you basically do this multiple choice test and just pray that you get 14 out of 20, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 14 out of 20. But the best way to do this is like ask for past papers because all of us got so many past papers for this test. So and the past papers allows you to kind of tailor your studying instead of just consistently just reading this like really boring book. And then the best way to do it is by the buddy program like made by Ahmed as well. So I say really push forward for that.
Okay. Question: is it necessary to study? This is about Czech. Is it necessary to study for books, or can you study from books, or can you study without them?
So you guys have they probably have medical check in the.
No.
Not first year. Okay, so you guys will only have one textbook. That's the one that you have to buy it from the bookstore, because you will be using it every week during class. So the thing is, it's good to study it during the class because the teacher will go through the exercises that are on the within the textbook. So you guys will use it as practice. and as as learning material for your first go through, right? So that and handouts are both the most important and the only resource that you should use.
This between us.
Oh, okay.
Oh, was there another question? Or was that...
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay, all right. So we can move on to Latin. This is your second language of this year. So just like Czech, there are also a couple partial tests during the semester. These partial tests are a lot fewer. There's only two. I'm pretty sure there's only two. Again, the pass mark is 70%, and they're sort of split about a third of the way and 2/3 of the way across the semester. And then if you pass both of them, just like Czech, your credit test will be 10% lower. So 5% each test lowers your pass mark from 70 to 60% if you pass both for your final credit test of this semester. And then there's also a final exam, but that final exam is in the summer. So the final exam has a credit test portion, which is written, just like this semester, and also in an oral portion. But you guys will worry about that in the summer semester, and we can talk about that later on as well. Right now, you just have to worry about these two partial tests, and then the credit test at the end of the semester. And again, like we said, uh, this is of course a language, technically, and it is not exactly that useful for you. We'll talk about why it's useful, but it's not exactly as useful as your other medical courses because those are your priority. But it's very important that you keep up with the handouts and the textbook that you will buy from the bookstore, and keep studying it alongside your other courses every week, and make sure you pass both those tests because not only will passing them make you realize that you're ready enough for the credit, but also you'll have an advantage of 10% for your credit test, which is very useful for sure. So the one thing about Latin compared to Czech is that it is technically useful because a lot of all of the names of structures and things in anatomy are in Latin. So if you are studying in Latin, it will make it a lot easier for you, both in anatomy this semester and also in later years. For example, in pharmacology in the fourth year, there's a lot of Latin naming for drug preparations and things like this. So it's important to just like keep an eye on the meanings of words and things like that. But again, if you study for it and pass those tests and pass the credit test, you'll definitely be just fine.
Yeah. Plus, generally in anatomy, I think they teach you in the Latin names of like most of them.
Especially like you can study in English and pass your exam in English completely, but they will be teaching in Latin. So if you know Latin during the semester, it'll make it easier for you to understand what they're saying, like what structure they're talking about. Because sometimes the name in Latin is pretty different from the name in English.
And Latin is prerequisite for something.
Yeah.
Is it?
For second sem bio.
Second sem bio.
I think so.
Okay.
So is the
But
second sem
I should
anatomy?
say, or maybe second sem anatomy. But it should be.
Is it on the website?
All right, so we can check that.
Update. We can update the PowerPoint.
We'll update the PowerPoint if that is a prerequisite. Yeah, we'll let you guys know.
Okay, so several questions. Firstly, do you know if physiotherapists have public health? I don't think any of us
Very difficult.
are qualified to answer that. We don't know anything much about that.
We can ask Ada.
Yeah, so we can find that out. We have a physiotherapist student, part of the clinical education team, and then we can.
If you want to message your question to the MIPS
Yeah,
Facebook
she can
page,
answer you
she'll
directly.
answer you directly.
Yeah, that'll be a lot better. Yeah.
Perfect.
And any other physiotherapy questions, yeah, because we don't know much about the physiotherapy course. So if you have any if there's any other physiotherapists out there, if you just want to ask all your questions onto the MIPS Facebook page, and then we can answer it accordingly.
Okay. I'll just mention this. You're still wondering how to purchase books when you'll be doing the online classes. I'm assuming he or she is referring to the white faculty books.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, there is no way to order them online. We are going to reach out to.
I mean, the professors will have to deal with it accordingly because obviously this is the first time that everything's been online. We've never had the online lessons before. So obviously, once actual semester starts and they recommend the books and stuff, they'll obviously have some sort of solution about the whiteboard stuff.
My guess would be they won't upload the entire PDF, but they
they'll
will
just give you
upload the
those
most
scans.
relevant bits. They'll either integrate them into the lectures or they'll upload them as separate handouts.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Can we find the Latin textbooks in the library?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say for you to take it out of the library than buy it.
Yeah,
I
and
mean, if there's none left, then you have to buy it. But,
Yeah, so
Well, we do have millions of books though, and there's a lot. There would be
is there a lot of Latin books in there?
probably, but like you only use it.
okay. So Rowan just wants you to go over once again. Do you have to pass the partial test to do the credit test?
Okay, so do you mean both Latin and Czech? I'm guessing you mean just Latin and Czech. So for Latin and Czech, the partial tests are not mandatory to pass. The only thing that you will get from passing them is a decreased pass mark of the final credit test. Of course, you will also get the knowledge of the fact that you know that you're ready for the credit test, but that's for your own like psyche, right? The thing like specifically is just a decrease of the pass mark of the credit test, which is extremely useful. But you do not need to pass them to take any credit test. For bio,
Yeah, so for the other subjects, like, so for anatomy, there will be partial tests that you don't do, but we'll get to that when we get
We'll get to
to
anatomy.
that subject.
Yeah,
But for biology, you'll have 2 partial tests every semester, and those are mandatory to pass, and if you don't pass them, you do have to retake them.
yeah, you have to retake them at the end of the semester, and then
Yeah.
there's also a
And
credit test.
should we also talk about how many retakes and stuff?
We'll get to that when we get to
Yeah.
bio. Yeah, it'll make it easy.
Okay. Sandra, what textbooks should we buy? It goes from subject to subject, and the guys have just talked about Czech, and
Yeah.
on the screen you can see the books you need.
Yeah,
for Latin.
like most likely a rule of thumb is the books that they recommend within the catalog of your IS.
And you actually find a lot of the PDFs of the books on the MIMSA hub. So if you go on the subject, we'll have there'll be like a little folder of books. You just click on that. There should be like all the PDFs that you need.
Yeah. So for Czech, there is it's a textbook called Step by Step. The teacher will show you on your first day. That's the only thing that you need, apart from the handouts that they will give you. For Latin, there's only this one. It's on the PowerPoint, so it's the Introduction to Latin and Greek Terminology in Medicine. It's like this light green book, and that's the only thing that you will need except for the handouts that teacher gives you. For Public Health, it's the only one that Rahul mentioned. It has a picture. Exactly. Yeah, that's on there's a picture on this presentation, and Dr. Kraft will actually show you it as well.
And he will dictate the chapters you need to learn.
Yeah. So those are the only ones that you need in those specific subjects. For biophysics, there's a white textbook from the department that you should buy.
You should. I mean, you can have them in the library as well. There
Yeah,
should be, like,
there
copies
should
in
be,
the
yeah.
library.
But honestly, the white books that the department writes from the bookstore, they're actually relatively cheap, like a couple hundred crowns maximum. Some of them are only like 70 or 80 crowns, so they're very affordable compared to like huge textbooks.
I think the only subject they don't need a book for really. I mean, we all recommend books for biology, but none of us use a textbook.
Yeah,
for
we
biology.
did.
Like the lectures and whatnot.
The lectures were more than enough, and like there's obviously like notes and stuff online as well, which we basically use. I mean, you can get the book if you like studying from textbooks, but you don't need a textbook for that one.
Okay, perfect. For people who cannot attend in person, can we have the white books for biophysics and anatomy? So right now we currently don't have access to any PDFs of the white faculty books. The only one I think is in second year in biochemistry, but even that is very recent.
I mean, we'll look into it. We'll try and find it.
The guys will definitely reach out to the study
we'll-
office and talk
Yeah, we'll
about
email
it.
the professors.
Yeah,
the
because we
departments.
keep getting this question.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll prioritize this because a lot of you guys are asking about this. Our progress test, partial test, yes, usually it's the same thing. Can we find biophysics white book in the library?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. Is Latin a first or second semester course? It's a full year course.
Yeah, so it's both this semester and next semester.
If
Check
you,
as well.
And then so for both Latin and Czech, you'll have a final. So you obviously we'll talk about it in the next semester, but for Latin and Czech, you'll have an oral exam, so oral final in the next semester.
The only two subjects that are this semester only are public health and biophysics.
Biophysics, yeah.
That's it, I think. Yeah.
okay, Julian, you're saying you don't see Latin in your timetable. That might be because it's not. Helena actually hasn't put you guys into seminars yet,
Possibly.
right? That could be one thing, or you're not in the right semester period. So make sure you're in autumn 2020.
Also, for praxis and seminars, like Helena said, you will be put in tomorrow.
Yes, exactly.
Your first years.
Yeah. I mean, if there's any like timetable issues, we can't do much about that. We have to
directly.
because each person will have a different timetable, so you have to like directly ask them the study office, and they'll sort it out for you. So
Can we find the public health library in
Yeah.
public health book in the library? Yes, you can.
And there's a PDF.
Exactly. Mary, do I have to attend Latin if I had Latin 5 years in school? That depends on.
No, you
yeah,
have
yeah,
to. No,
you
you
have-
have
You
to.
have to do
Because
Latin.
this Latin is really different to the Latin that you learn in school. This is directly medical Latin, and also you learn like Greek words as well.
Yeah.
So,
But I'm sure your 5 years would be very helpful.
I think the only subject you can skip is biology if you've done a degree in biomedicine or any biology related degree. Contact the study office saying that you've done this degree, and then you don't have to do biology, and you can be exempt from doing biology.
Yeah, but unfortunately we don't know how that works.
Yeah, so
you should direct it to.
I'll ask them if they're eligible, because I think there's like something like if you've done it within 3 years. Or,
I don't know.
So this is all directed to the international.
How long can we borrow books from the library?
We talk about it within our guides. You have 3 different color codes. You have green, blue, and orange. For green will be 3 months. For light blue will be 1 month, and orange and red stay within the library. So the sooner you go to the library and get the green ones, you can go to muni.alf.cz, and then you can university library portal, and you can continuously renew those 3 months. But obviously, it's a first come first serve for the green dotted books.
Perfect. Can we review this live stream even after it ends? So most likely what we're going to do is we're going to chop down this live stream to the most important bits and questions that you guys wanted to ask. And then we can upload like a highlights of it, just so we're not uploading 3 hours of content for no reason.
Yeah. But everything will be uploaded, so don't worry about that.
Okay.
Okay, so for biology, it's also another kind of small test for this semester. There's specifically two tests, two partial tests, and the way kind of we study, at least me and Hussein, since we're in the same class, we have like a batch of lectures, and we just study those lectures like a week before our exam.
I mean, the lectures were perfect.
Yeah, like more than enough.
They have. To be fair, they have more information than you need in the test. If you just study the lectures, you'll be fine for the test.
Yeah. We didn't use any external books or anything really. And the MIMSA Hub has student notes, but biology is just really about just going to the lectures. Like we didn't really prioritize biology that much because we didn't really do physics, so we were just battling biophysics really.
I mean, the point of the biology course itself is to make sure that everyone has the same foundation of biology. Because obviously everyone's from different high schools, everyone's had a different education. The whole point is that if everyone has the same foundation of the same level, then you can learn the more complex subjects next year, such as physiology and biochemistry. So don't take biology for granted, properly learn
and
all the fundamentals.
And the partial test was quite difficult because it's really hard to understand the jargon and the actual English from that department. So try to focus within the subject.
I mean the knowledge that you learn in biology, you probably use it for the whole 6 years. We still use the stuff that we learned in the first year. So.
Good. Yeah. Okay. I just want you to go over again. How can you skip bio if you've taken it before?
Yeah, we can't exactly say concretely because none of us have done a degree prior to coming here. But the way we've seen our seniors do it is if they've done a bachelor degree or a 3-year degree, they can contact the study office and say, I've already done these basic concepts, and from what I understand, they have a topic list, and then you check out if your degree has participated within those topics, and then if the study office gives you the green light, then you get to miss biology. But honestly, we can't give you a comprehensive.
Yeah. So these kind of questions, please just
go straight to the
study office because they are the only ones that can actually help you.
Okay. Just answer this very briefly because you're going to talk about biophysics. If you've never taken physics in high school, is biophysics more challenging?
I wouldn't say it's more challenging because it's medical biophysics. It's not like A level physics. But for example, I didn't do A2 physics either. I did A2 maths, and it wasn't that difficult because the book that they supply, they give you enough information to pass the test.
I think a lot of students get stressed because it is physics, and I think that because they never did physics since high school, they're gonna struggle a lot. But a lot of the stuff is actually quite straightforward. It's just more they want to see like the medical applications
And the understanding of
and the understanding of it. So like in the actual exam, they're not expecting you to know all like the complex like physics.
Yeah, but once we get to biophysics, we'll give you like a structured answer and way to do it.
Yeah, I think biophysics is the one that really confuses most people because no other like university
Does
offers
biophysics.
biophysics. Mostly it's just biochemistry or like biology. But the physics part of it, but the physics part about biophysics isn't that like heavy.
Yeah.
It's more like to do with like the
MRIs
and like thermodynamics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's quite like basic stuff that you can probably just like learn on YouTube as well. To be honest. But,
Yeah, so don't worry.
Yeah,
it's very doable.
yeah. I mean, I think I had a message before semester started. They're saying that I had to have no physics knowledge, but I just told them that like if you actually just read the actual content, it's not really.
It's not that bad.
Yeah,
it's not. Let's trust it.
Okay, so Cameroon, I hope that answers your question, but they're going to talk about biophysics in more detail. Bara, what's the most important subject for first sem?
I said biophysics.
First sem, yeah. I mean, your most important subject overall in first year is anatomy.
Yeah.
That's like your most like one of the biggest exams. But for first semester, biophysics is like
because it's like first semester you really learn how to compartmentalize your time.
Yeah.
Like you start to realize you need to do the small stuff to get it out the way, so you can have a dedicated study period towards your big exam.
Yeah.
Because only biophysics really will potentially hold you back, and biophysics will be the one that kind of collaterally hits you for anatomy. It's all about how you prepare yourself for the big exam, I'd say.
Right at the end of the presentation, we'll go through like just final summaries, and we'll actually tell you about scheduling exams and studying tips on how to study what and how to prioritize what for the rest of the semester. So don't worry.
Okay, Jimin, about the practice section, is it similar with lab section? I don't actually know exactly what you mean by that. If you could, elaborate a bit more about what you mean. I'm assuming you mean in practices, do you do laboratory work?
So in bio, you do a few.
And in biophysics.
Yeah, both exactly.
All right, perfect. But if that's not what you meant, just just rephrase it. Sandra, unrelated question: where can we print things on campus? There's many printers.
If you're within our tour guide, like for example, within the library, you have like a big orange box called the super box. Like your ISA card can hold money, and if you tap the super box with the ISA card, you can put money into your super account or ISA hard cash, and there's printers within the old medical faculty and the library, and the printer itself has a card reader for your Isaac, and you should get used to the system because you'll be printing a lot of stuff within your first few years. But this year, unless you have a private printer, this is the best way to do it, I'd say.
Do they need lab coats for biology?
Not for biophysics, they do.
They need lab coats, right?
Yeah.
So I guys told them about
Biophysics is next.
Okay.
So you were asking me if it is laboratory work. Yeah, so in biology and biophysics you do a ton of laboratory works if you're in
plus that'd be protocol. But the most important thing about biology is the fact that it's a prerequisite for physiology, and we'll talk about it in the next year's semester guidelines too. But like you need to do biology if you want to do the big subjects later on in your years. And like I reiterated before, you're gonna have 2 partial tests during semesters. But if you fail one partial test, you can reset it at the end of the semester. But then if you fail both, you can reset both. But if you fail both again, you have to do a big credit test of every single lecture within one semester. And trust me when I say it's a complete waste of time. It's unnecessarily difficult because you have to study I think 12 lectures for one test. And then I say just really concentrate to the 2 tests and just get them done. Like I said, just get rid of the small tests coming your way. But yeah, that's it. And the study materials, like we said, is the lectures.
Okay. Jimin wants to know, does that also mean there's lab reports? For biophysics, you do lab protocols, you submit them every week?
During the class.
During the class, yes. Julian wants to know, speaking of lab work, how much are our white coats and slippers and where should we buy them?
From the bookstore?
Yeah, I think your tour guide showed you where the bookstore is. I think the best place to buy a lab coat and your slippers would be the bookstore.
The slippers in the bookstore are kind of expensive.
Yeah.
I feel like you can find them in like the bottom of Flavni area, the tunnel. So there's gonna be a lot of places that are like
For
family owned.
example, I got mine from IKEA.
Yeah, there's quite a few places, including IKEA, and even in the center, there's quite a few places that are like family owned. And they just have like sort of BTEC, the Crocs, and then you can just buy one of those that are like white.
Or you can get actual Crocs.
Yeah, exactly.
You can actual
So there's any sort of
but
the lab coat's from
so the bookstore is like, I mean, you've probably seen it in the tour guide, but the bookstore is where the library is. So the main campus library is just on the first floor. And that's where the bookstore is.
We don't know exactly prices because I think they differ.
Yeah.
But
maybe like 400 crowns for.
I think it's like around 500, 400 crowns.
For a lab coat.
I'm not sure completely, but you just have to go and check.
yeah, but I'd recommend you buy one because we need one right now.
Yeah. I mean, you need it for anatomy anyway. So.
Yeah.
If you do A-level physics, biophysics, okay. Yes, biophysics is more than doable. It's nothing.
Yeah.
It's nothing crazy.
Yeah. I mean, if you've done A-level physics, then it should.
It should be okay.
It should be fine.
Okay.
Okay, so to continue talking about like biophysics, like the meaning of lab work is you have to do a protocol afterwards within the class, and it's kind of tedious because you have to describe, like you have a book of like all the practical work as well, and you have to do a theoretical part, you have to write your results, you have to write a conclusion within those results. And this mainly becomes homework and it becomes really tedious, but this is mandatory and necessary if you want to do the credit test at the end of the semester, and you need to do the credit test if you want to do the final test. The books and the materials required is the white book, and that's way more than enough. I'm sure these guys did too. I use YouTube and the white book mainly for biophysics, and I'm sure we're gonna get the question how long do we need for biophysics? I studied biophysics 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean,
we can talk about the schedule in the end. But
it was around 2 to 3 weeks of dedicated study period.
So like obviously when you first start, because this will be like your first major exam at the end of the semester, you probably think that you need like 6 weeks or something to study for this exam because you see how big the textbook is, and you think that there's a lot of information to learn. But to be honest, it doesn't take that much.
Yeah, and also like just from my personal experience, the best thing to do, like studying for oral examinations, is you should print out the question list, which will be handed out by the department itself, and work your way to answer how you would orally each question. Say number one is I don't know, how does an MRI work, and then you go to the book and then you read and write your exact oral question of how to do it, and this way you can compartmentalize every single question there is, and then when you revise it'll be a lot easier. And I think since this will be your first oral experience, it's going to be difficult and you're going to be not very confident, but it is very doable. And Marstein really cares about understanding than memorization. And the biophysics for me was a very calm exam. You just have to be confident and just say it with your chest, and then you'll.
So just two things I want to add. Number one, like we were talking about the lectures. In my opinion, I guess you guys would agree, the lectures in biophysics are probably not that useful.
Biophysics lectures,
dreadful.
So they're once a week, obviously.
Yeah.
In our opinion, it's probably not useful to go to them. So if you want to, it's up to you. But it's probably better that you spend that time on something else than going to it. Another thing I want to add is since this is your major oral exam this semester, like it's set up here in the PowerPoint, there is a written exam first. So that's 25 multiple choice questions. You need 14 to pass, and when you do pass, you will then be taken to the oral exam. And the oral exam is basically they'll give you a syllabus of let's say 110, I think, something like that questions, according to all the topics that are going to be taught during the semester in biophysics. and those 110 questions you may pick like two of them.
It's 110 split into two groups.
Yeah.
And then you have to randomly choose two questions.
Yeah, exactly.
From both sides.
Yeah, it's literally like picking a question out of a hat.
Yeah,
Like it's completely random. You just have to pick it out, and then that's the topic that you're talking about in your exam.
So you get
So you don't talk about any other. He might ask you additional questions, but majority of the exam will
It's
just
going to
be
be tailored to those questions.
on those two questions.
Yeah, which is why I said you should tailor your revision to the question.
To the question. So you use the questions as like a checklist, so
Yeah,
that you know every single topic. So that, for example, if you were to get randomly one of those questions, you can just talk about
you can
it.
instantly comply to that.
Exactly.
Because a lot of people just dive straight into the book and just start reading, and they just get lost.
Yeah.
And that's a complete waste.
So since the oral exam is all these questions given to you as a list, and you will be given those exact questions.
Yeah.
You can literally study them
Question
specifically,
by
like
question.
study how to answer every single one of those 10 or 110 questions, and then when you get one of those, inevitably in the exam, you'll know exactly how to answer it because you'll remember it from when you did it a couple weeks ago. And the other thing that I want to add to these guys did the white book, and online stuff like YouTube, right?
Yeah.
I also want to add that in every oral exam, or pretty much everyone on the study hub, there is a so-called document,
Being made by students.
and that is exactly what we just told you guys. That is basically them listing every question of the syllabus that the examiner has given us. Every question they list on the top of the page, and they answer the question how they would answer it in the exam. So if you go through those documents, that's the way that I studied for this exam. I just tailored my study directly to the oral exam questions, and pretty much all the written exam questions I had known from the document that I did as well, alongside a bit of the white.
Plus, the best part of the documents is that, like, for example, like Marcin has this life-saving questions, like his favorite questions, and the document like highlights his favorite questions.
Yeah.
So, if you're having trouble, if you really memorize those like important favorite questions, I'm sure you'll pass.
So basically, what it means that, for example, you get a question and you're not really sure how to answer it. So like you've been giving him your answers, but he's not exactly satisfied. He might revert to one of his favorite questions. And if you know that well, because we told you guys that those are his favorite questions. If you know those well, he'll probably pass. So then it's like a win-win for you guys. Yeah.
I'd say that you look at the document like from now, how big the exam actually is, because it can be a case that you open the document like a week before your exam and you just like start stressing out like, oh damn, I've got a lot to study. And if you like open it from now and like as you're learning things and as the lectures go on, you just start reading a little bit of it and it will help you in the final exam. So
Good. Okay, so firstly, Julian wants to know: do we only need the lab coats and slippers, or do we need more?
No, that's
For now, that's it.
That's what it is.
Sample during the section.
But your individual teachers will tell you what is mandatory.
you get like an email saying everything that you need before the class starts. So.
Okay. Yuri wants to know: are there any filled out protocols? Yes.
You're gonna fill those protocols out during the class for biology seminar, for the biophysics practical, all these things. For Czech and Latin, you'll fill out the handouts during the class, and then you can study them later at home. So all these things.
And these handouts aren't graded. Oh, I think biophysics is graded.
The only one that is graded is.
Yeah, so biophysics, the protocols that you fill out in class, they'll be graded, and then they'll have some benefit in the final exam. So they'll have your protocols there, and then they'll see what grades you got, and then they'll decide your final grade.
But the biophysics department really cares about how it looks. And stuff like that. It's like
Not really reading it.
Not really.
For biology, they use your filled out protocol as an attendance. So it doesn't need to be like good. Of course, it should be good for you so that you can maybe like use it as a study guide, as part of your study materials. But all they do is when they look at your filled out protocol and then they just check your name and then check you as attendance. So that's it.
Okay. Two people are asking, where do we find the oral exam questions for biophysics? Are they going to be uploaded onto the information system? As they are every
And they're on the hub as well.
And on the study hub.
And on the study hub. But just to be sure, check the information system because sometimes they update.
For every
Update the
single
question
exam,
list.
you should definitely check it in the stuff that the teacher gives you first, or no, both. You can check the study hub, but definitely also check the study materials because every year they do change certain questions. So
if it is changed, if you just want to send us the document, we'll just upload it onto the study hub, so then
it'll be easier.
Perfect. Okay, Baral, syllabus for anatomy. Yeah, so Hussein's going to be talking about anatomy in here in just a bit. But yes, of course, there's a full-on syllabus for anatomy that's available to you to access at any time.
Also on the study hub.
Yes. Okay. Could you guys explain the point? Write your protocol and reread it for practice. Okay. He's saying like, what do you mean when you say protocol?
Oh, like a protocol. For example, in biophysics, you're going to participate an experiment within the class. This is your laboratory work. For example, like a galvanator, and then the protocol is what the teacher issues as an introduction, as results of theoretical, like a lab report.
in America.
Yeah, it's a lab
Yeah,
report.
lab report.
It's a lab report.
Yeah.
So in America, it's called a lab report. It's just like an introduction, like an abstract and introduction.
Your
Yeah,
like
but
your hypothesis,
and
Yeah.
your
all that
results,
Your
and then your
current-
evaluation
yeah.
and your conclusion.
Yeah.
So just like how a normal scientific like report looks.
Yeah,
like.
and then
Like
we made
if you're from the UK, if you've done the ICES, it's exactly like
exactly
that.
that. And then it's important because it's also attendance for biophysics as well.
Mhm.
So it's like one of those. It's homework as well.
Okay. But does the ISIC card work in the old MedFac? Yeah, so your ISIC card is pretty much usable throughout the entire city. It's gonna be the way you get into CPS, or like we call it MedFac, the study rooms. And could you print stuff in the yes? So the printers at those any of the universities you'll access through your ISIC card that you receive.
Yeah, pretty much any faculty that is associated with Masaryk has a printer or a bunch of printers, and you can access it with your ISIC card.
We love the ISIC.
We do love that.
And also the transport is now.
Transportation.
Yeah.
We will get to that. Alright, so this is anatomy. Is it okay? So this is anatomy. This was basically going to be your major exam next year. And anatomy is basically your major topic, like your major subject in first year. How anatomy will work, you have lectures and you also have the practice. In your classes, it will basically be all the topics that were in the lecture beforehand. So in the practice, basically your professor will basically go over whatever is in that syllabus for that week, and he'll just explain all the body parts, and you'll have like a model of the body part, and then you just have to go through. So for example, as your first week, you'll probably learn about the bones, so all the different bone parts, and you're basically in the actual practices, you'll have actual bones, and you'll like see all the different anatomical structures. How it works is that every week you'll have a test. So in your first week, you won't have a test because obviously it'll be your first week, but the week after you have a test of everything from the last week. And these tests are more just to keep you on track, so make sure that you study every week for them. They don't actually count towards anything, it's just to just to reflect upon yourself of how well you're doing in anatomy. Because the main issue of anatomy is that people really neglect their subject, and then it gets a bit too much because it's a lot of things that you need to remember. And a lot of people, especially in first semester, they focus more on biophysics and they study biophysics a lot and they completely neglect anatomy altogether. But the best thing to do is just keep on track anatomy every week. Whatever the syllabus is, just make sure that you know it before you go into the class.
Yeah, because anatomy is all about layering your knowledge.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not about you can cram it in like a month. You can't do that.
Exactly.
It's really hard to do.
Just a quick thing. We're going to talk about scheduling of your exams throughout the semester later on after this presentation. But I just want to say that anatomy should be your priority every week, including the first week that you decide to study. Anatomy should be your priority, and then you should be like, okay, fine, I'm done anatomy, but I have the check test to next week. I should study for that a bit, and then of course you later on in the semester, maybe October, November, sorry. You can be like, oh, biophysics is pretty soon. I should start giving that more time. But anatomy is always the number one that you go.
Oh, plus also something I remember from when we did anatomy. At the end of this semester, you start splanknology, but the problem is you'll be very deep into biophysics, so you're gonna have this gap of splanknology, especially I think GIT and respiratory.
All the way up down to GIT.
Yeah, all the way down to GIT, and you really let go of anatomy. I mean, understandably because you're studying biophysics. But just try to just keep that in the back of your mind, just as a little seed, like a seed of thought, because it's really hard to catch up in the next semester.
For anatomy, you should without fail, you should be studying every single week. I guess like you can like stop studying it when you're studying for the biophysics final. But other than those like stressful like studying periods,
Like
you should
3
be
weeks.
you should be on anatomy every single week without fail. Especially because you will have a dissection exam this semester. So what dissection week is? So you basically have dissection week. So you will get a cadaver, like a body cadaver, and you have to dissect it, and you'll be focused on mainly the muscles of the limbs, and the bones and the whole.
Back extremities.
Yeah, back extremities and legs.
Yeah, that's it.
And yeah, that's it. So you
About arteries and veins and nerves of all this.
yeah. So I think in my first year, I didn't realize that we had an exam after dissection week. Like we got to dissection week, we were like dissecting the bodies, and then someone told me, "No, we got an exam after this." So
Yeah, we're freaking out.
yeah. So what your dissection exam will entail is that the professor will basically have the dissected body part, and he'll basically and he'll point to about 10 structures. For example, if he points out one of the muscles, you would have to talk about the insertion point, the function of the muscle, what nerve is innervated by, and the blood supply of the muscle. And yeah, so basically you need to like be on top of that from the start, because if you start on dissection week, it will be too much for you to study for the actual exam. So make sure you're just on top.
But also regarding dissection week, closer to the dissection week itself, we will have seminars and such things.
So we'll have weekly MIMSA like anatomy lectures every single. Are we doing bi-weekly?
Oh, we're still thinking about that.
Yeah, so we'll either have them either every week or every other week, or we'll have like an anatomy session. So this will just be supplemental lectures on top of your classes, because we just feel that anatomy is just so important and so many people neglect it. And it's also one of the main reasons why people get kicked out of this university, because anatomy, the anatomy exam is the main reason why so many people drop out of this university. So if you're on anatomy from the start, then you shouldn't have any issues in passing all the other years.
Yeah, plus the summer after anatomy is bliss.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, you want to pass anatomy before you go off for summer.
Yeah, we keep saying this, but
it's really about like scheduling.
Yeah, okay. And then next.
Questions, or you want to finish?
Yeah.
Questions, right? Okay, so firstly, this is more biophysics. Do they sell the biophysics white book in the bookstore? Yeah, of course. All your white books are sold in the campus bookstore.
You can get in the library though.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you already mentioned it, but can you give tips on how to pass the anatomy practicals? I'm assuming he's talking about the dissections.
Dissection. Yeah, I mean, we'll have like a dissection
Tutorial.
run through tutorial, and we'll talk about in there like in more detail how to.
Exactly. Do we need the splankology and neurology books this semester?
No.
No, you're not. That's for next
Besides at the very end of the semester, when you finish the basis of your locomotor, you're gonna start splank now. As of now, what you need is your locomotor white book.
Okay. Do we dissect it first semester? Yes. You have two dissections.
One week.
And I'm assuming he means dissection.
Like dissection week, at the very end. But
So-
you actually dissect during the seminar.
So in first and second semester, you have two dissections. Like proper official dissection week. Like periods
Like
in the year.
cutting all the way from the skin down to the muscle.
What do you mean by third attempt? So every examination is going to have, 5 total attempts, and that's what we mean by third attempt. I mean the third attempt of that exam.
No, but okay. So basically, by the third attempt, one semester you're only allowed to take an exam 3 times, and if you fail on the third time, you have to push that subject to the next semester.
Okay.
But then in the next semester you'll have 2 more attempts.
He corrected his question. He meant to say, what do you mean by on your third attempt you go directly to the oral exam?
Oh, that but this is more second semester when you have a final oral exam. On your third attempt or your fifth attempt, you're exempted from Europa and also a repeating dissection exam.
No, dissection you still have to do.
Do you? I thought you was exempted.
You still have to do dissection. Yeah. So
These kind of like major things are important details about the exam. We'll tell you next semester in the next semester's guide, because that's when you'll be focusing specifically on anatomy.
Final,
So
but I guess we can talk about
Just
biophysics. So for example, so you have your biophysics final. You have basically 2. So you do your first attempt. If you fail it, you can do it again. if you fail it again on your third attempt, you won't have to do the written part.
You're exempted from the written part.
The written, because obviously every final has a written oral. For the third attempt, so for example, you failed twice already. The third time you do the biophysics final, like in January or February, you do the oral part. If you fail that again, then you basically are technically on repeat, and you have to repeat the. So you don't have to actually go to the classes again, but you basically just have to do the exam in the summer. You don't have any more attempts left in this semester.
Yeah.
So then you have to do your biophysics final in the summer semester, and then at that time, then you have 2 more attempts for biophysics. Yeah, and then so for example, so if you failed those 2, no, sorry, you only have 3 attempts in 1 year, right?
No, you have your attempts in one semester, like within the semester you have the exam, and then you get pushed into the next semester.
On repeat, and then you have 2 attempts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're right, yeah.
So no, because then you can do it the year after though in autumn again.
Yeah, but
But it's on repeat.
That's on repeat, yeah.
Right?
Like,
You're right. What you're saying is correct.
Yeah. So you have 2 more attempts. So you can either do it in the summer, or in autumn again. But after those 2 attempts, so for example, if you basically have 5 attempts for your final exam, and then on your 5th attempt, if you fail that, then you're kicked out of the university.
Yeah.
And that's with every single subject. So even if the Czech final, if you fail it 5 times, you're basically out of the university. And most people, as I said before, biophysics is usually okay, but for anatomy, because of other exams and then pushing it back, etc., it gets most people get kicked out because of that. It says no data. So is everything okay?
Let's see.
Are there still questions?
There are
Like,
still
there's
people
still
typing.
updating.
that's fine.
The stream screen bit rate is lower than the recommended
Yes.
bit rate. That's
Yeah,
fine,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's okay. Sorry guys, we're just making sure you guys can still see us. How is the dissection part going to work since you're having online instruction? As of right now, today,
You'll have contact.
you will have contact seminars and practices, and dissection will be contact. But
Plus first years get priority anyway.
so obviously keep checking the situation, and you'll receive emails promptly if the situation changes. But that's the information for right now. Cameron wants to ask, do I need the Netter's Atlas?
I mean, it depends on what book you like to use. You can use Sabota, you can use Netters, you can use Themes. I personally like Themes Locomotive. It's a bit hard.
We're gonna say that for this semester specifically, the most important books that you need are the white book, that is the Anatomy of the Human Locomotor System, and then also an atlas, any atlas. We recommend Netters and also Sabota, and probably
Everyone
Yeah,
has like a
it's-
different book recommendation.
It's like this book.
no, it's not gonna update because we're lagging.
Okay, yeah.
Keep it in the frame for a second.
It's this book. And that's what I recommend because it has pictures and numbers, so you can just like cover the names and write like bones.
Yeah.
I think.
I would say mainly that how to study is use the white book and basically have an atlas of your choice. So, for example, we all use Natas, right?
Yeah, we all use
we all
numbers,
use
yeah.
Natas. You can find a PDF. I'm pretty sure there's a PDF on the study hub. So
Study
if you don't
hub,
want to spend I don't know how many crowns it is, quite expensive.
It's
It's quite expensive atlas, but I mean, they have the atlas in the library as well, so you can just get a copy there as
Yeah,
well.
it would probably be better if you get a copy because you can take that to the like your seminars
Yeah.
and use it while you're looking at the actual specimens, like refer. But if you have a PDF and you just want to study at home, that's up to you.
The university recommends Masaryk because it's in Latin as well. Like, so it's the only atlas where you have, because will be taught in Latin, like all the anatomical terms will be in Latin, which isn't the same everywhere else. And Masaryk is the only one which has the Latin words, and the book will have Latin words, so you can like basically use both of them in conjunction.
There's also a Latin version of Sabota.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So that's up to you.
So,
if
so,
you
you
want.
get, so if you can, there's nothing stopping you from learning the whole subject in
The
Latin.
thing is, like some students have it easier in Latin. For example, Portuguese.
Yeah.
And, like I had friends that were Portuguese and they were studying Latin because it was easier for them. So it's
but
perfectly.
for us, like the English was a lot more easier
Yeah,
because all the resources that we're using were in English as well. And the other reason why, the other reason why Masaryk is recommended is because the head of anatomy Professor Masaryk. He actually co-wrote the book as well. So that's why they'll probably like have stuff from Linux as well.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Rowan Adele said, "Is the robot the same as weekly tests? I can see it in weekly in timetable."
Yeah. So robot. What does it stand for?
I have no idea.
Yeah. So it really stands. What does robot stand for?
Oh, that's a great question.
It stands for something. Basically, what it means is that it's a test on IS, really.
Not necessarily a test, but just a bunch of questions on
Oh, a question.
They can be a test. They can be a final test. They can be a test during your semester, or they can just be a practice test that you use as a study material for any
Yeah.
course.
So when you see the word robot, it really means just questions on IS. But when we say final report, that means it's the final written part of the anatomy exam.
And that kind of robot would be only accessible when you go to campus,
Exactly.
or if it's like home, when you go to an area and just like sit down for a certain period of time on a certain day that you've booked. So stuff like that. Yeah.
Next question. Okay. Anita says we're doing great. Thank you, Anita. Can we access cadavers whenever we want to, similar to accessing bones?
No.
They're talking about the bone rooms.
No. For cadavers during the dissection week itself, the teacher will period where you will see the upper extremity and the lower extremity, the same as you might see in the dissection.
But during the seminars of every week, they will give you specimens that are related to the topic. For example, in maybe like the third week, you're gonna have the upper limb.
Yeah.
Probably not the third week, but let's say like the seventh week, you're gonna have the upper limb, and they will give you a forearm or a bunch of forearms for your.
But this is in class, externally to class. I don't
outside of class, no. Yeah. But another great thing is that we're gonna host a dissection seminar for the first dissection. It'll be maybe a couple weeks before or during the dissection week, something like that. And we will probably be able to get Dr. Masaryk to let us into the dissection room and actually teach you on the specimens ourselves. And give you our tips and
key muscles and key questions.
Okay, perfect. Bella wants to know how the examination period works. As in, will they have no more lectures and seminars?
Yeah. So basically,
you're done with all practice. You're done with all seminars. You're done with all lectures, and you have a designated time period where you book an exam and you study all the way to the exam.
So let's just say, for example, the last week of.
When's the last day of uni?
Yeah, I think the last week of.
We don't know because it's being pushed, isn't it?
Oh,
So it could be in January.
It could be mid-January. Okay, let's just say probably your last week of studying of 2020 is gonna be no, like 2020 the year the calendar year 2020 is gonna be like the 23rd of December.
Okay.
You'll have a week of break, and then on 2nd of January you'll restart. For us last year, because if there was no pandemic, we started the exam period on the 2nd of January. You guys might have it different because the scheduling has increased, like gone up by like 2 weeks. So maybe you'll finish on like the 10th of January, something like that. And then from, for example, the 10th of January to like mid-February is going to be your exam period, and you will have booked all your exams before Christmas. During those times, and you will be taking only those exams, studying for only those exams in that period.
The examination period. So in that January to mid-February, you would have to complete all your exams. So you'd have to book, or you have to like schedule accordingly. You would have to book biophysics final. You'd have to book your Latin credit test, your Czech credit test. Czech credit test you can't really book. It's usually like a set date, which will probably be at the start of January.
So possibly a reset or a first attempt public health, but it's very important that you do that.
Unlike a small exclaimer, when you're booking exams, it's really important to go to the examination dates, like the booking on IS, because the teacher will tell you when to book it, but as soon as you go on the IS, it'll tell you when the actual availability to actually apply for it will actually open. For example, most exams are going to be at 5 p.m.
on a Saturday, maybe.
Or usually on a Saturday, and this is the best time to go to if medfac's open or a computer with secure internet, because or campus, because your entire year is going to be swarming to get that date. So it's really important you get your own specific technique to book your own exam.
I mean, did you guys explain booking exams?
We can talk about that a week before biophysics
Yeah,
starts.
like I think Helen.
We'll have a proper. Maybe we'll just have a proper seminar about it.
So I'm pretty sure Helena mentioned something about
Yeah.
run by the
today,
university.
Yeah, today.
That was today.
At 3
We'll-
p.m. or something.
3 p.m.
Yeah,
today.
so we'll follow that up with her, and if not many of you are able to attend that, we can even do one of our own.
Yeah.
We can upload one of our own videos
Well,
because I'm sure.
Well,
you know,
basically, for every final exam at this university, it's not everyone doesn't do it at the same time. Everyone can. You basically have dates available, and on each date you have about 10 people doing an exam on that date. When you want to do, for example, some people might want to get biophysics done early and then do all the exams after that. So, for example, they might want an early date for biophysics, PM period. And then all the others. So you basically have to just figure out yourself when you want to schedule your exams, and you have to leave enough time for you to study as well. When you tutorial on how to book exams and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, but to answer the second part of your question, yeah, if you finish all of the exams that Hussein mentioned, during in the examination period early, then the rest of your examination
It's
period
completely free.
is a holiday.
Yeah.
You know,
so August we
You're
finish it really early
You're home
in
free.
like January.
You're
Like,
gone.
so like before February hits, we're all done for exams. So we have like a nice like 20-day, 1 month period of just holiday when we go back home.
You're blessed in that
Okay.
aspect.
Rowan, do the 5 attempts apply to all subjects or just certain subjects? I'm pretty sure it's
Always.
all subjects. They'll tell you if there's an
Well,
exception.
it's a difference between final exam and a credit test. So credit test you only have one attempt,
One reset.
one reset.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for a final exam, you have 2 resets, so that's the main difference. But the issue is that if you don't pass the credit test, if you fail the reset of the credit test, you can't
Do the final.
do the final. You have to do the credit test to take the final. So if you can't pass the credit test, you basically you can't do the subjects. You don't get the credits to pass on to the next semester.
Exactly.
Basically.
Okay, correct. Is it online or in class? I'm assuming you're still talking about anatomy. You have contact lessons. Your lectures will be.
As far as we know. Like,
Yeah. As of right
because
now,
For now,
it's all up in the air about
Yeah.
this.
But as of today, it is in person, and the only thing that's going to be on Microsoft Teams is your lectures. Do you guys prefer Snetter or Sabota?
I prefer not to.
I also prefer Nessus.
Yeah. So there you go.
Because in our opinion, I think what I remember is that
Sponsor us.
Sabota has quite a smaller pictures, and then the text is like arrowed quite widely. But on Netters, there's huge
Pictures.
block pictures of the entire like upper torso and stuff like that. That is completely opened. Every single structure is like clearly shown and labeled, and there's so much color.
But you can't use just Netters. Like you need to have like the white book to supplement it. So basically, the white book has because it's written by the university, so it has everything that you need to pass the exam. And basically, you use whatever's in the white book, and then you correlate to the actual picture, so you can like imagine it in your head.
So an atlas is a reference. So
Basically,
the text
yeah.
from the white book, you would have to. Anatomy is a very visual subject. The text on the white book is just words, and you need to pair those words to actual visual structures.
Like
And Netters will help you with that.
Exactly. You can't just open Netters and just start studying. Like,
Yeah,
it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, so if there's a priority list, it's like within the books and materials, it's always gonna be the white book, themes, Nessus, any kind of encyclopedia of anatomy, and then videos to supplement your knowledge, I'd say. And always use that. Because the examiners are gonna go straight from the white book. 100% of them.
Okay. Cool.
Especially the Bowie.
Yeah. So Netters, shout out Netters. Best atlas out there.
And I think the best way to study anatomy is not even with the textbook. I feel like if you do go onto like these YouTube channels, what's another good YouTube channel for anatomy? Yeah, that's more.
That's in
I like if you just type in like anatomy lectures, there's anatomy zone on YouTube, there's Amanda Hasidigan. If you just watch these videos and learn that way, it's a lot better to like understand it.
Maybe start with them,
Yeah.
and then once you know them, you can start reading.
I mean, especially if you're like a visual learner, especially, and like reading textbooks just isn't your thing, then watch YouTube videos. You understand it a lot more better. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So Yuri, when is it possible? You can't register for an exam. Yeah, Yuri, you can't do that because they don't have actually have any exam dates
Yeah.
up right now.
So they will release the dates more closer to the exam, and they will like inform you by email when you can book it, etc.
Yeah, so don't worry about that right now. This is like they're talking about this like 2 months down the line.
plus the
semester.
Yeah, man, you gotta just relax right now. You know.
Yeah, we'll talk about schedule and like how to book exams and also like how to study for the final and stuff like that later on in our like weekly sessions.
Yeah.
As well, so.
Oh, Ahmed was saying he was asking if the robot was online or in class. So
Which one?
Yeah, Ahmed, just let us know which subject you're talking about, but because
If
if
you
you're
talk about
talk-
the final report, then
it's
that will
in
be
class.
in the actual
In class,
anatomy department in class because it will be obviously moderated. You can't just do your final exam at home.
Yeah, unfortunately, you could last semester just
But,
because that was the situation, but now since you're back in on campus, they like to do the robots there for most final exams. Yeah, so.
Okay. I mean, we already talked about dissection.
So you want me to skip this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. We talked about how to.
Yeah, this is more second semester to be honest.
Yeah.
We can just talk about the first semester, how it relates to exam. So anatomy this semester you're gonna start with the musculoskeletal system, so bones, joints, and then you'll move on to muscles and their blood supply and innervation. And then for the last maybe 5 or 6 weeks you'll start with splanknology, which is the internal organs. So the important thing is that you keep up every single week with what you're doing in class. So if you do that, you'll have the lecture in anatomy, you'll have the seminar to go to and study during, and then you'll have our lectures at the end of every other week to keep up. So if you use those three resources and your own studying time, you can keep up every single week on what you're doing. And then by the time you get closer to the end, the dissection exam is going to be your main source of assessment in this semester, and it'll help you study as well. So the main thing is just to keep up with the seminars every single week. What you're doing in the seminar should be what you're doing at home, and just continuing. It's pretty well structured because it's going from the bones out, and so you can just continue along every week, and it'll be good enough to pass you on to the next semester when you'll be starting to think about the final exam.
Yeah, and then if you just see at the bottom of the screen, that's basically like the brief like syllabus of the whole year. So you'll start off with your bones, joints, and muscles, and then that's when you have your dissection, where you'll be tested on that. And then next semester, then you'll talk more about like, internal organs, your CNS, peripheral nervous systems, and everything like that. And then you have another dissection next year, next semester, and then you have the final exam just after that.
Move on to the
Move on.
next
Is there any questions?
Let me just see if there's any questions. Yes, I mean this is about the robot again. I'm asking about the weekly robots in anatomy if they were online or in person. They're gonna be in
They're
person.
going to be in person. Yeah. I mean, there's a new thing we'll talk about in the next slide, but all the tests will be in person. Yeah.
Perfect. Mohammed wants to know: do you recommend getting an atlas with English or Latin nomenclature?
So as we said, studying depends. It'll be tough, why though?
Yeah.
It's
So,
it's perfect.
so the university teaches in Latin, but they don't have like they don't prefer they don't care if you learn in Latin
In
or
English.
And in your exam, whether you talk about it in Latin or English, they won't mention anything at all. Like it's
Yeah.
perfectly up to you.
Yeah, try both ways.
It's just that some people find it easier to learn in Latin because they teach in Latin, the books in Latin.
and you learn
Then you might as well, and you learn in Latin on the side as well, so you might as well just learn everything in Latin because it does take a little bit of brain power trying to like translate the words to the English version. But it's
But
completely
honestly, if you do learn in Latin, it might be easier later on because you will probably learn the English version eventually.
Yeah.
So if you know both, it might be easier for you to understand things in the future as well.
Exactly.
So-
And it also depends on where you're from. So I know that some, for example, in this country, they do use the Latin terminology in like
In
hospitals and
hospitals,
stuff like
yeah.
that. Well, obviously, if you're where you're from, they only use English and just learn the English. It's completely up to you.
Oh.
Exactly.
Any final
Any
questions?
questions?
So, while you're asking about the partial test, yeah. So the next slide they're gonna mention the new system they have in place and what you need to pass and what you can
So
about
it's
that.
still just
more. Okay.
Okay, so this is something that's completely new just for you guys. I think it's going to be tested on you guys if it's like successful. But basically, the head of anatomy is introducing these new type of USMLE type tests. I'm not sure if you guys know what the USMLE is, but it's basically if you want to go. Oh, you guys know.
Yeah, so basically it's the United States medical licensing exam. So it's an exam split into 3 parts, and it is a prerequisite for every single graduate of medicine to be able to obtain a medical license in America and practice.
Yeah.
So it's just like a final exam. It'll be somewhat similar to the PLAB that's written by people that want to go to the UK.
Yeah. So the reason why he's introducing this is because the USMLE is basically case oriented questions, whereas every other exam you do at this uni is not really case oriented. It's more just theory based. So what they're trying to do is basically make it more towards how you solve problems in the hospital. So you'll have 3 written tests, 1 this semester and 2 in the next semester. And then depending on what mark you get in the test, you'll be ranked across the whole year into 4 quartiles. So the first top 25% of students, so the top 25% marks will be in quartile Q1. The next 25% will be in Q2, and then the next will be Q3 and Q4. So depending on how well you do in that test, you'll be ranked among the rest of the students in your year. I'm not sure if it's with Czech students. I think it's just international students. So if you rank in Q1 in your first test, you get 3 points. If you get in rank in Q2, you get 2 points. If you rank in Q3, there's 1 point, and if you rank in Q4, then you get no points at all. So you have 3 tests. If you achieve a minimum of 6 points, so for example, if you rank in Q2 in all 3 of those tests, so you achieve above 50% of the year in all 3 tests, then you won't have to take the anatomy final. You do still have to take the anatomy dissection exams, but the actual anatomy final oral and the written exam, you don't have to take it at all. So that means that 50% of the basically 50% of the year won't have to take the anatomy final if you achieve in these tests. And then the final grade, so obviously I told you that the final grade is between A and E. If you achieve 98 points within the 3 tests, then you get an A. If you achieve 7 points, then you get a B. And if you achieve 6 points, which is the minimum you need to be exempt from the anatomy final, you'll get a C. If you achieve anything less than 6 points, or if you were in quartile 4, so if you're on the lowest 25% of the year, and you get 0 points, you can't. You have to take the anatomy final. You won't be exempt from it. So even if you just hit Q4 once, you have to do the anatomy final.
We never had this.
This is completely brand new for this year. Because I will say that you should try really really hard to do this because your anatomy final will be the hardest. For me, I feel like it's the hardest
of the entire 6 years.
At
least the entire 4 years.
Yeah. 100%. This is one of your hardest exams in this university, and the one that most people get kicked out for. So if you have any opportunity to not do the anatomy final,
be in the top 50%.
Yeah,
the thing is that is an incredible deal. I was kind of worried about this whole thing because before I knew what it was, but now that I'm reading it, that sounds amazing because only having to be in the top 50% and then just being exempt from one of the hardest exams of this entire uni and minimum getting a C by even being exempt, that sounds amazing.
So I would say work really really hard for these exams.
That's great.
Just focus to try and get that top 50%. I mean, you'll be competing with each other, but
just don't tell anyone. Keep it to yourself.
I mean, don't be snakes about it. Still share resources and stuff like that. But
slugfest. But
I mean, it does create healthy competition within
just to clear something up, there's some people in the chat wondering if the USMLE is compulsory. This is a USMLE type test. The USMLE is you do not need to.
It basically it's a way for those students who do want to do USMLE. You'll make them prepared for it when the time comes, basically. But everyone And it's not like only those who are doing USM have to do this test. Everyone will have to do this test, basically.
Yeah. When is the best time to sit step 1? I would say somewhere between 5th year.
As soon as you graduate fourth year, you can try to do it.
Yeah, perfect. But I mean, more info on that, you can text me. I'm Ali, the vice president, so you can just message me about that because I know and Ahmed right here is, currently in the process
the
of
way.
sorting that stuff out.
Are we looking up? Should we turn that?
That's what I was wondering.
You can
If
turn
I
it
could
on.
turn this. I will after this. Anna Maria wants to know, is the workload this? So far we've only done our studying for the USMLE in the summer, and that's after we finished all of our other exams. So I can't really speak on balancing
I would
it.
say not worry about the USMLE
It's
for the first
too
2
way
years.
too early.
Way too early.
Yeah, so like,
Survive first.
the thing is, your first 2 years at university will be arguably your hardest.
The hardest.
Once you pass second year,
Yeah.
then you like it's smooth sailing.
Yeah.
You'll be fine.
Yeah,
That's-
we love the passion, but at the same time, you guys
Like,
should focus on
you just,
what.
like your main focus in these 2 years is just to pass. Honestly, just pass through these 2 years, and then you can focus on all the other extracurricular and USMLE and everything else you want to study. Basically.
Wasim is asking, does the USMLE count for your 3 to 5 attempts?
That's a completely different exam. It's not part of the uni. The uni doesn't host USMLE. It's just.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's an
I mean, maybe I'll rename this slide
you
because
probably
I mean, Mark is written USMLE as well.
It's right, you see.
Yeah, so I think we don't want to confuse you guys. Maybe you were asking about the written tests themselves, like do they count to your 3rd or 5th attempts? But they actually, dictate whether you even need to take those
Yeah.
attempts.
That's before you even do the first attempt.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Someone was asking if we're gonna upload this PowerPoint. Definitely,
Yeah,
this is gonna be on the Study
It's
Hub.
already on.
Yeah, it's already on there actually.
Yeah.
So if you were at your enrollment, you'll know how to access the Study Hub. So I'm sure you can do that on your own. But let us know if you have any troubles. Yeah.
Okay, and then this will just be anatomy final exam. But
We'll
we'll talk more about this next semester. You don't really have to worry about this now. But
we
it works the same as every other oral exam where you have. So for example, for the anatomy final, you have 4 topics that you have to choose from.
Out of a bunch, like a couple hundred.
Yeah, exactly. And you basically have one topic from each section of anatomy. Well, obviously you'll have the written exam first before this. After you pass the written exam, then you go to the final oral. You'll pick up your 4 questions, and then you have to also just quickly. So your first question will be something about the bones and joints. Your second question will be about the organs, technology. Your third question will be a neuro question, and then your fourth will be like a topography question. So depending on like the different structures. And yeah, so and then you just have to pass every single topic to pass the final exam, basically.
Okay. So when do they're asking when to take the USMLE exam?
Don't worry about
Really,
USMLE.
don't worry about that right now. Ask us in a few years.
Your first semester hasn't even
Lucy, I'm assuming you're talking about the USMLE written exam.
Yeah, can you make it clear if you're talking about the USMLE like anatomy test or you're talking about the actual USMLE exam that you take to go to the US?
If you're talking about the actual USMLE exam for the American boards, do not worry about that right now. It's not the time.
Yeah, but this USMLE test,
Please pass by.
we just got information about this, so it's really new. We don't actually know that much information about it, so I don't know exactly when in the semester will happen. I'm assuming it'll be sometime mid-semester.
She needs the anatomy one.
Yeah, so it'll be sometime mid-semester, I presume, or it could be end of semester.
And I'm sure Masaryk will tell you the time.
Professor Masaryk will tell you all the details about these tests, but I just want to let you guys know about that this does exist and just explain a little bit. But you'll explain more when you start anatomy. Basically.
Yeah, by the way, the only reason we're laughing is because to call it a USMLE anatomy exam is very confusing, and
very silly.
I just find it funny how he
he should have named it.
He should not have named it USMLE.
And the fact that USMLE is accumulation of 4 years of
Yeah.
school.
So to have a bunch of first years in the chat asking when did you
that
take
name
step
for
1.
them would be case-based question test.
Okay, yeah. So I just want to clear that out. I'm not laughing at you guys or anything. I completely get it. Let's see. Are there books in the library to prepare for this type of test? I think if anything,
Just do the.
Dr. Merrick will give you
Yeah, he'll give you all
questions.
He'll explain how to.
And the resources.
Honestly,
Because-
it's
because-
literally just
yeah.
any kind of other test.
Yeah.
You just have to study.
But because it's a
new.
new test, we don't know how the questions are going to look like, and we don't have any like previous questions that we can give you or anything like that, because we have no idea what they're going to be.
We can probably just ask Dr. Merrick about some sort of like a question bank
A
of
question bank,
sample
and
questions.
we'll figure out what resources to use for this
Yeah.
question test as well.
Okay. Yeah, had chest pain hearing that. Yeah, man. The USM is, it's far down the road, so let's not worry about that right now. Anything else? Which semester is harder in terms of workload? If you're talking about first year, you guys
Definitely.
Second
semester.
semester.
Yeah.
That's
This
your
semester is honestly pretty lax. Like you can enjoy your time being a student and like acclimating to Brunel. We'll tell you like as soon as we finish this, we'll tell you about scheduling for this semester specifically. But it's definitely a lot more relaxed than next semester.
But don't be too relaxed, because that's what the main issue that people.
Yeah, we'll
because-
give you like proper scheduling.
Because
yeah.
the thing is that most of you, like, especially if you're coming straight out of high school, you don't know how to study, and like you don't know how much the workload is, and it can really creep up on you. So my main advice, and also didn't said in his speech yesterday, just you have to start studying from the start. You have to keep on top of things. You can't take it too easy, because it is really hard to pass basically first year and second year. So you have to keep on it.
good.
This is pretty much like
They can
Gauge's
like
like
We don't want to keep you guys here too long.
places you want to study. So MedFac, we call it MedFac. It's actually called CPS. It's like the Czech acronym, and the address is Komenského náměstí 2. So the second, it's just in the old medical faculty, and it's just a bunch of like 4 rooms, and the 3 of the rooms have computers set up with like blinds on either side. It's open to all students and it's 24 hours.
Yeah, that's the main benefit. So this is the only like library per se
in the entire
in
city.
the entire city where it's open 24 hours. So you can go like even through the night, like study.
Yeah.
Every other library closes around like 7, 8, 10 roughly.
One important thing is that it usually gets very busy around exam time and around test booking time. But that's like a big thing. For now, it's actually closed, so it doesn't really matter that you. It doesn't really matter what you like whether you guys go there, because it's definitely closed right now. But yeah, when it does open, that'll probably be one of the major places. You can also go to the campus library, because since that's closed, the campus library should be open. And then PhilFac the address is on the PowerPoint. It is quite a bit bigger than MedFac, and it's usually almost always less crowded. And then there's also Social Fac and Econ Fac. I think if you Google any of these places like Social Fac, you can actually probably find it.
Just make sure that you keep updated with your emails, because there is a state of emergency which is going to be launched on Monday. So we don't actually know what's going to be closed. Right now we have very limited information.
Well, I mean, MedFac is closed.
MedFac
Definitely right
For
now.
sure.
Okay, but we don't know about the other libraries.
The other ones we're not
Yeah.
sure,
Yeah.
to be honest.
For now, the only one we definitely know is open is campus fac.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best shout is just study at home for now, because you don't want to be like in big crowds anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, the university will inform you when these libraries and stuff will open up again, or if they close.
Yeah.
For that matter.
Can we go to the next
Yes,
slide?
I wrote.
Is there any
Yeah,
questions?
just press this one.
Is there any questions?
No, there's
no
questions.
questions.
Alright, is there a final slide or is this it?
There's 3 more slides.
Yeah.
Yes. So this is just like statistics, which compare the two. I was talking about how the dropout rate is really high. So if we just calculate the dropout rate, so in 2019 in the international program, if we just do.
And just
So that's a 70% dropout rate.
yeah.
So that's incredibly high. So I mean, you might have heard that the other Czech universities have a really high dropout rate. The 70%.
No,
I mean, not to scare you or anything that you
Yeah,
will be.
we kind of have to preface this,
We-
right?
yeah.
We're not. This is not intended to give you guys panic attacks or something like this. This is literally just to kind of wake you up
Yeah.
Yeah.
and get you to realize the severity that is your first year here. because a lot of this dropout rate, I'm sure you guys can agree, is attributed to your performance in your first year. First year, whether
First
that
3
be
years, first 3
work
years.
ethic, balancing your life, organization, and aspect like all aspects.
Plus, like we saw a lot of our like good friends like drop out this way. Like
Yeah.
we're trying to prevent this for you guys. You know.
So I just wanted to talk about this kind of thing. The main reason I think, I'm sure you guys agree, that people fall back or drop out is because they have either it's their work ethic, which is probably one of the reasons, but there's also people that don't take exams seriously, not in terms of work ethic, but more of like planning and organization. So you guys know that first of all, you guys have 5 attempts for every exam and also 3 attempts per semester. So organization and planning of those attempts, it's up there, right? Organization and planning of every exam and semester is really important. So, for example, biophysics this semester, you guys know that it's the only proper oral exam that you have this semester. So, ideally, like realistically, you will have over a month between mid-January and mid-February to do biophysics, only biophysics as a major exam. So you can't possibly need that entire time to study for it, right? Like if you do it properly during the semester, you should probably take like maximum 2 weeks into it. So let's say like near the end of January, which is pretty much where all of us did ours. If you do it then and you have properly prepared, you will totally pass. Like you'll have no problem, and then you will be done with it, and hopefully you'll be done with your other small tests like Czech and Latin as well, and you'll be happy, done with the semester, passed everything, gotten all your credits and done. So you'll be happy. So that'll be organized. But then there are some people that don't take attempts seriously. So for example, this is mostly with anatomy, and we'll talk about this in our
It's
next one.
like the last year's first years, like we
Yeah,
talked
like
about.
yeah, Helena talked about this as well. Basically, she said that 90% of the first years last year,
That's
they
proportional.
left their first attempt of anatomy as their third attempt. So basically, instead of doing it in the summer of last year, they did it in January of this year, of 2020, like January, February of this year. So obviously, the 3 attempts that you had, that they had in last summer, were canceled because they just didn't go because they were either scared or they had other things and they didn't want to give it time, all that stuff. So obviously, if you only have 2 attempts left and you're all like a semester behind, the teachers are going to be harsher on you and all these things. You're going to be way more stress and all that stuff. So you have a much higher likelihood of failing, and it's anatomy. So it's one of the subjects where you a lot of people do fail because it's such a big subject and they don't always take it seriously. So all these things compound and it makes it way harder. So I think a lot of them did fail, and a lot of them would have gotten kicked out because they would have failed their 5th attempt, and that's purely because they didn't take their first 3 attempts seriously. If they had done it properly, they had passed biophysics on time, and then they would only have anatomy in the second semester. Then they would have passed it on time. Maybe they failed the first attempt because something happened, like their OPAR or whatever. But they got it done on time, maybe like July, August, and then they were happy. They had another month of holiday at home, and then they were like it was all great. And anatomy is one of the main reasons for people dropping out. So that kind of thing, like work ethic, is probably an important thing, but organization and planning and taking attempts seriously is another huge aspect of success at this uni.
Just before we get started, Cameron Nessa said, "Is it possible to dedicate time to a non-medical hobby on the side given this packed schedule?" I would very much advocate you do find a non-medical hobby.
You need a good
Yeah,
work-life
yeah,
balance.
you need that.
Because this course is like there's no 2 ways about it. It's extremely stressful.
It's also very mentally straining. Like it's
Yeah.
like I'd say for one, like we all go gym, we all play sports and things like that. And Mimza itself, we're trying to like incorporate more social events and more like sporting events for you guys to make it more seem like a university, because I'm guessing you guys had a predisposed idea of what a university should be. I definitely did. Like coming from the UK, and this place just really like it's completely different from all that. So try like Hussein said, try to
It's
find a good.
essential.
Yeah, it's very
It's essential to have
a good work-life
something to
balance.
fall back on when you want to escape from all
To,
the stress.
to answer that, I'd say please try to find a non-medical hobby.
The thing is, yeah, all 4 of us, we're all on track,
Yeah,
and we all made it through. So it's not impossible.
it's not possible. Yeah.
if you do have any like questions, just ask us because we've all been through the ringer. We know exactly exactly how to get through each year, and how to basically like if you just stick on with it from the first year, and you don't like mess about, you don't take too much, you don't do too much partying, basically.
But saying that.
Obviously you have to party still, like you still have to relax and enjoy life.
Well, we'll say that, bro.
There's something to be said. There's something to be said about this, right? You know, this whole week, they've been telling you that your life is over for the first year, stuff like this. I think all four of us can honestly say our main attitude when it came to studying was we relaxed when everyone else relaxed, right? That was around, so you're gonna mention this. That was like, let's say the first 2 months.
Bro, acute
of
liver
university,
failure.
right?
Liver failure.
After that, when everyone else starts studying, when your classmates are in the library, that is when all of us got the sign that okay, wow, people are starting to take this seriously. I think it's time for me to pick it up, start putting in 8-hour shifts at the library. But that's not to say that the next 8 months of your life are going to be drowned out in medicine. That is not
you have to
by
enjoy
means.
your first year, but you also have to not relax too much. You have to find the right balance.
The thing is, like one of my major, one of the major factors, in my opinion, of my success in my first year was because of the people I was around. And I knew that these guys were like one of the most intelligent people in our year. So I knew that if I like simulated their habits, I would be in the same place.
It's really important to surround yourself with like-minded people.
Yeah, that's a huge thing because there's a lot of people that will take things poorly. Like I said, basically, for example, there might be some people that I'm sure there will be some people around you that will take these attempts like as a joke, just like I said they would.
But then at the same time, there'll be also the students who don't party at all or like don't do any social activity, and all they do is study, and then that way you risk burning out very, very quickly at the start of the semester. Where this is like a marathon. Like I know it's cliche to say, but you have to take it like one step at a time. You can't like stress yourself. I mean, we were all keen at the start. I remember when that first bonus lecture. And we were like making like 2 pages of notes in that lecture, not understanding.
1 weekend, stress, anxiety.
Take it one step at a time. Take it slowly. Don't burn yourself out because then you have a whole exam period to come as well. So as Ali said, relax when everyone else is relaxing. Study when everyone else is studying.
I don't know if you were gonna mention this as well. I think Masaryk University, our international program, since it's so tiny, we're kind of, relatively tiny, and we're kind of, a small community. I think, it just naturally operates on kind of like a mob mentality.
Absolutely.
A lot of your seniors, and, a lot of your seniors, I'm sure they're very smart, intelligent people, but never listen to a senior that will tell you you're gonna fail an exam. And as stupid as that might sound, I've literally heard people in second year telling first years that they're definitely not gonna pass an exam on their first attempt.
Basically, you have to take an attempt. No matter what, you have to take. Once you book an exam, and you booked it for that date, you have to do whatever in your ability to go to that day and do that exam. Even if you feel, because the way these exams work is that because there's so much information, you will never feel like you know everything. You'll feel like you know hardly any of the content, but you still have to try your best and go to the exam.
And if you're not like ready, you can't say like, oh, let me just.
Yeah, exactly. So for example, like the day, like 2 days, because you can cancel your day and then push it forward if you want to. But we recommend that all four of us, we're very heavily on the fact that once you book a date, you stick to that date. Act like you can't change it. Because even if you feel like you're not prepared, you might actually know a lot more than you put yourself out there to be.
One thing I do is that I take my first attempt as my only attempt.
Yeah.
And like hopefully, luckily it's worked out for me every time. But it's important to have that attitude, right? So like another huge thing for us was that people would take an attempt as like, oh, I'm not really ready, so I'm just gonna go see how it is. Maybe I'll get a feel for the robot, see how that is, and then if I do get to the oral, I can see what the teacher really expects and actually study for it properly for my second attempt. That is such a huge waste of time. Like, why would you waste that first attempt? Exactly. You know you're not gonna feel ready because it's such a huge exam, whatever exam you're talking about. You're probably never gonna feel ready for anything. So you just do your stuff. You organized properly, and then you probably will pass if you did do it.
Just so his question doesn't get swamped off. Yuri Boyka says, do you have to print out the protocol yourself, or is it handed out on the lab days, like in biology?
It depends on the subject.
But I think it's
Most likely
yourself.
US.
Yeah,
Most yourself.
and first year, just assume that you have to print out your own stuff.
Yeah.
Biology and
Biology.
biophysics. Yeah.
Okay.
They'll have the protocol in the IS, and you just have to download it and then print
Okay.
it out.
And Famaz Sadian said, so we can't take PE this semester.
I highly
doubt
recommend you do not take PE
taking
this
You don't.
semester.
Yeah.
You're gonna be flooded with classes.
Yeah.
I had some people that would end days at like 6-7 p.m.
Yeah.
So just fitting in a PE,
Like
in that time.
we all did it in our fourth year.
Yeah, you only need 2 semesters of PE in 6 years, so 12 semesters. So you can literally do it in third year or after. The first 2 years, like we said, are the hardest on you. So don't worry about other stuff. Worry about the exact stuff that they need you to do in those 2 years.
Yeah. Okay.
We're in fifth year.
Yeah.
We're doing our last semester.
Don't worry about PE.
So you got time.
Okay, so Wasim Whitey said, because Melicharova mentioned something about costs being covered if you succeed your USMLE. Do you know what she meant by that?
So Masaryk offers kind of as an incentive for you to study for the USMLE exam. They will pay up to 30,000 crowns if you actually pass the exam.
Which is probably about the same amount as the expenses of
As
the
the
exam.
registration. So they basically reimburse you for doing the exam. As for I don't know if that applies to. I think that applies to step 1 and step 2. But yeah, and I mean obviously it has to be during your studies at Masaryk. You can't just apply for it after you graduated. But yeah, that's what the scholarship is all about.
Okay, so Ujwal Sai says, during the first semester exam period, should we keep revising other subjects?
During the first semester exam period,
Should
you should only do
we- biophysics.
So let's just
Just focus on your
let's
next
just say during the semester you guys can chip in, but during the semester, for the first month or so, you can just focus on what you're doing during the week, and outside that you don't need to do as much. You can like relax and enjoy yourself, like get acquainted with the city and all that stuff. Maybe like around early November, you can start focusing on biophysics. So keep doing anatomy, keep studying for your partial tests for Czech and Latin. Public health is probably going to be around the corner as well. And then start focusing more on biophysics. And then once you get into the exam period, you just finish your Czech and Latin, maybe first, and then focus only like maybe 2 weeks, only specifically on biophysics, and get that done. So in the exam period, you should probably only be studying for the exams that you have during the exam period. During like before Christmas, you can study for all the things that you have. And then afterwards, after the exam period, you should just take a break. Hopefully you finish early. You can take a break until Feb when your second sem starts, and then you can start thinking about the rest of them.
Then Julian M said, speaking of notes, do we take notes during seminars and practices? Is it considered rude not to?
No, not at
it's
all.
never-
It's never
considered
rude.
rude to
It's
not
never
take
rude, bro. Like
Some people literally come and listen, absorb information, and leave. You don't gotta be, forcing yourself to write fake notes.
Yeah, it all depends on your own personal study techniques. To be honest, when it comes to seminars and stuff, so it's all your preferences really. Wasim Whitey says, what year would you recommend the physical education? Third year? Question mark?
Third or fourth year.
Third,
Third or
fourth
fourth
year.
year. Like we did it fourth year.
Yeah.
And third year. Sarah A says, is taking an elective a good idea for this semester? I would
No,
not
absolutely
recommend.
not.
You have too much
Absolutely
on your
not.
plate.
Stick to
There's
your
no
schedule.
reason.
Stick to your
Yeah.
schedule.
I think you guys understand
Yeah,
how
yeah.
heavy.
Like,
it
I
might
feel
be.
from the outside in, like, because before you've even started the semester,
Yeah,
you feel
yeah.
like, oh, you got so much time in your timetable.
You do not.
You don't have time. You have so much on your plate. You don't have time.
I do respect your passion, though.
Yeah.
There's plenty of semesters.
You
where
have
Yeah,
so much
yeah,
time.
you have a lot.
Once you're in third year and you have a lot more like chill lessons and stuff like that, that's when you can do it.
Okay, Famaz Saidian says, how soon can we give the Czech and Latin exams? Like end of December? It all depends on the teacher.
Yeah, but I mean, generally
Generally
they
it's
will
early.
have a credit test during the last week of
Yeah.
your teacher.
And ideally, you want to get the small exams done.
Yeah,
early
that would
on.
be really good for
Very
you.
good early on.
So like if you did all those, you'd hopefully do public health in November, and then you did those two exams like
Yeah,
check
yeah.
in end of December, right before Christmas. When you get back here,
That means you only go
you
biophysics.
probably will only have biophysics.
And that's
during the exam period.
amazing. That means you're gonna have a
That would be
beautiful holiday after
Yeah,
biophysics.
change this slide. I don't think they want us to do it.
Yes, kind
I feel like you should. Yeah, just go to the next one. There we go.
Yeah.
Less stressful.
Marwa says, do you get tested on first and second semester study materials for your final end of year?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so your anatomy final will be everything you learned through the whole year, basically.
Just like biophysics, you will have your list of a bunch of questions, like a couple hundred, and they will include both, like literally the entire body. So obviously you're gonna be studying part of the body this semester as well. So yeah.
100%. Okay.
Is there any more questions?
Oh, no.
No. Alright, so you
Oh,
have
I just want one. I think I probably done everything.
And there's just useful apps that you see. Like Alm is gonna explain more about it.
Yeah, you go ahead.
So you know, it's good to have a list of services available to you for all your needs in Brno, and you know that's why we kind of put together this list because it kind of outlines the main things that you'll be using. So these are phone apps. I'm assuming all of these, right?
I think EDOS was the one you were talking
Yeah.
about.
So EDOS, IDOS. I'm pretty sure that's the most relevant application that you'll probably be using every single day. This is DPMB's public transportation app, and this is where you get tram times, bus times, and all of these are updated to the minute. I've never seen the information on this app ever be wrong, even on holidays.
And delays.
And they show delays by the minute. So if you're gonna be leaving at a certain time, open this app, check the route you're gonna take. It'll tell you the exact route you're gonna take, which stop you need to get on, which stop you need to get off at, and distance, all this stuff.
Just to quickly interrupt, Yuri Boyka says for the Norwegians, remember you need minimum 30 credit points for each semester, total 60 for each year, in order to get the financial support from.
I think for
Lena
all
Carlsen.
Scandinavian countries, that applies to all Scandinavian countries. I think Sweden is
So
the
just
same.
remember that if you guys need financial help from your government, remember this the limit that I'm sure you probably got guidelines from your school or from your government and all this stuff.
Also from our side, Ian says, how many years will we be studying anatomy? Hopefully one.
Just 1 year.
That's the plan. Not hopefully you will be studying.
So I know in a lot of different other countries they usually study anatomy over 2 years. That's why anatomy at this uni is really intense because it's all packed into just 1 year. So you learn the whole human body, whole human anatomy in just 1 year, and then you have your final exam next semester in the summer.
To answer Ahmed Alam's question of which app, if you're talking about the DPMB bus times, it's IDOS.
IDOS, go on the App Store, should be the first thing. Should be the first thing there.
IDOS, yeah.
Right. I mean, I can just mention the other relevant stuff. RegioJet. Okay, so traveling is probably gonna be mostly a thing for you guys in the later years, but you know, for taking a train or a bus to either Prague or to Vienna in Austria to, you know, if you want to access the airports, I've always, for the last 4 years, I've used RegioJet every single time.
Yes.
They always have the cheapest prices. They're always on time, and I can't say a single bad thing about them. I'm pretty sure you can go to Prague for like 40 for a very cheap.
Like 3 euros.
Like it's literally free basically. That's how cheap it is.
And then there's also Flixbus.
Flixbus, yeah. So, but RegioJet is just one example of, you know, a transportation service they'll use. Food and money. I mean, I think Wolt and Damilo are kind of your bread and butter when it comes to ordering food to your house. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you guys, if you're European, I think Wolt is, you know, I'm pretty sure you're aware of Wolt. And yeah, so these apps come in handy on the weekends or on holidays when nothing else is open. Like the holiday that we just had, I'm pretty sure Wolt and Damilo were still taking orders even though a lot of places were closed.
Rowan Adele said, please consider talking to professors about getting PDF of books since we cannot make it to Burner yet. And if you could do another video about exam registration later, thank you. You have been a great help. It's our pleasure, Rowan. But we will try to talk to professors
We'll contact the professor.
to try PDFs. The only problem is if it's by Masaryk itself, there's generally copyright issues if it's not by
yeah.
them.
So what we can do is we can, if it's, because I know a lot of you guys are not stranded, but you're
Yeah,
abroad
yeah.
because you can't get into
Visas
Renault.
and stuff.
I can even talk to Dylan, the president, and we can even bring this up with the vice
Yeah.
Shivan, and he can.
We could try to sort
he
something out.
can help us out with
And to answer, we will most likely make a video about exam registration.
Yeah, we'll
We came under the pretense that I thought Helena already made an adequate enough video. Yeah, but
don't
we'll
have
make
arguments,
this up.
yeah.
exactly.
Marie Starbucks said, I already bought Sabota. Should I sell it and get the net? No.
We're saying both are
Yeah,
useful.
both are very,
Just
very
because we
good.
preferred netters doesn't mean you will. And
Yeah,
netters, there's a PDF online.
Yeah.
So if you wanna
so
look at both,
it's
up to you.
So basically, before you open Sabota, before
try.
you can't return it anymore. Just try both of them on the PDF version. See which one you like better, the look of, etc.
Yeah, try
Both are perfectly okay. It's literally just a matter of preference.
Yeah, try Sabota. Try Sabota.
Just go to the next slide.
It's just about.
Let's just finish the presentation. Do questions. The rest will take 10 minutes.
They already know what this is.
If you've been in enrollment, you already know what the accommodation grant is, and
Yes, this is the preclinical team. If you want to message any of us on Facebook or Messenger, or just contact MIMSA directly through Facebook or the Instagram page, we'll be happy to answer any of your questions. Anything like that. Do you have any? If you have any questions right now, if you just want to ask us,
we'll be hanging around for at least another 5 to 7 minutes. It's too much. 5 to 7.
Okay.
Ask us what you want.
Ahmed Alam said, could you also somehow update us about the USMLE mock exams? I'm not sure what you mean by mock exams. If you mean the anatomy USMLE-like exams, we will try to update you as much as possible.
I'll email Dr. Masaryk directly and ask him for updates so that we can update you guys. Maybe even in the first anatomy seminar, we can tell you about it.
Honestly, we already found out about this literally a couple of days ago that this has been introduced this semester. So we have really limited information about it. But once we know more, we'll tell you.
Yeah,
honestly, technically, since there are 3 tests, most likely the first one will be a third of the way through the semester.
Yeah.
So you do have a few weeks to prepare.
Yeah, he was talking about these.
So we'll let you guys know as soon as we have the information, and I'm sure Dr. Masaryk will tell you as soon as you have your first lecture or class. So don't worry about it.
Yeah.
She should be.
So while you guys ask more questions, just a couple closing notes. First of all, shout out to the preclinical education team. These guys are gonna be your best friends this entire year, and I mean the entire first 3 years of your medical career for that matter. I do not have.
You're gonna make me say it.
December, good. No. I mean in the sense of preclinical
the future members.
Yeah, they've done such a great job with this semester guidelines. I've witnessed 2 or 3 at this point, and this was probably the most informative one. And we hope you guys enjoyed it. A virtual format I'm pretty sure you guys are able to, connect with us more because I know when we do these things in person, some people are too nervous to ask questions in front of big crowds. So I think this was kind of a way for you guys
I think this is better for
get more comfortable with us. Definitely give us your feedback if this is something that you would want to see in the future in terms of online lectures, which we are planning for anatomy, and if you have any suggestions for us or things that you would want to see, definitely let us know.
And if you have any closing out questions, please feel free to ask now.
Yeah, we've got a lot of questions.
I noticed that, man. I saw when we did semester guidelines in person,
it's
it
maybe
was
five,
5 questions, and I'm pretty sure we answered more than 3.
We're not intimidating at all.
This time.
No, but it's just
I mean,
you don't want to
stress.
ask in front of other people.
Yeah. I mean,
Or is
closing.
there no thank
Just
yous?
closing
Oh,
thoughts.
It's our pleasure.
Yeah, our pleasure, bro.
Closing.
do the
Okay. Shout out Koblizna. Yeah, let me just say something, right? Closing thoughts. You're about to enter probably one of the most interesting years of your life, and I think every single person sitting here can agree with that. I definitely know Rojo can, agree with that statement.
Oh, here we go.
You're gonna leave first year a completely different person, and obviously we at MIMSA we're excited to see that journey, and we're excited to be there for the ride. So if there's no more questions, we're gonna go ahead and end the stream.
Mara Umar said, our courses were registered on IS by the faculty, but the credit total up to 29. However, according to the faculty calendar, it's recommended to complete 30 credits per semester. Will this be an issue? If it's 30 credits per semester, you do not need 30 credits to move on to the next semester. You need 20.
No. She's saying that our courses
Or is this
add
the
up to
region?
29.
Oh,
No.
yeah. She said our courses were registered on IS by the faculty, but the credits total up to 29.
But your practicals and seminars haven't been enrolled yet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you guys
I
still
do-
have stuff left. Don't worry.
Don't worry.
Actually, you
don't worry.
guys don't have much right now in your schedules. You literally just
Yeah,
have
you
lectures
have almost nothing
in your schedule.
So don't worry.
By Friday, by tomorrow, by the end of tomorrow, if you still have problems, I would message Helena. But I would also, I would advise, from personal experience, you to wait until the weekend's over or wait until Sunday to email them. I know
Because they're definitely working. Like it's for first year, it's completely their responsibility to do all your courses for you, like register and all that stuff. So you don't have to worry about
can
it.
you read that quick message? Man, I'm lying.
Which one? The big one.
The bottom, she means for 6 years we need 360. Huh?
No. Wait, what?
Yeah.
No. She means for 6 years. Yeah, but but Rawan Adel, like Rawan Adel says, she means for 6 years we need 360.
That makes sense.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, but I don't think you need to worry about 6 years right now. But I'm not sure what you mean because I don't think you got the extent of your timetable as of yet. So I don't know.
Yeah. So don't worry. They will probably like in the next few days they will have updated everything that is remaining.
Jimmy King said, "You mean interestingly painful life." That's a good way to put it. I like that. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
No, but seriously, man, I remembering my first year. The reason we've been sitting up here for almost 2 hours now, it just goes to show how many mistakes we made that we don't want you guys to recreate and avoid. Like at any cost.
Because we see those same mistakes being made every single year, even though we specifically ask people not to do it.
Yeah.
So just please keep that in your mind and have like make a conscious effort to not make those mistakes.
Essentially, like a weight off our shoulders. Now we've given you this info. Now go and thrive, succeed.
Yeah. Like everything we say is everything that we wish someone told us when we started. Like literally, all like the advice that we've given, basically. We wish we had as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think we
Is
can.
that the end of the
Yeah.
question?
So if you have any questions later on, just give us
Just
a message.
us.
Like any of us. So
Yeah.
we'll help.
On behalf of me and the education team, we hope you have an amazing rest of your orientation week. Be sure to tune in to trivia night tomorrow. We haven't enlisted you guys into separate groups yet, but we are going to be, sorting that out shortly. And I think Ahmed and Rahul made the questions for that. And this guy loves music and sports. This guy's too smart. So if you guys get full marks, we'll give you something, I guess. But,
And Ahmed Alam said, what's the best way to select courses for the next semester? As in, which courses to take so that the semester is not packed with top courses that is fast.
Like
Don't
I said,
worry,
guys, like I said, for the first at least like first few years or pretty much every single year, the department is responsible for giving you your courses. So don't worry about that stuff.
Okay, I think that's it.
Any other questions? Just messages.
have an amazing first week of uni, and we look forward to talking to you guys soon.
Thank you, guys.
Good evening, guys.
Thanks.
Good luck, Charlie.
Shout out to We out here.
Take that.
That's true. That's true.